Okay. Think we're doing okay. Let me pop out the chat, move it over to this window, slide it down, and switch over to live chat. There we go. And boom, there we go. Hope you're having a good time of day. Totally depends on where you're at. Let's see here. Hello from Union City, Georgia. I'll be at Adepticon this week and looking forward to saying hello to you in person. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. Absolutely, John. Stephen, thank you very much. Here's to seeing you at the Army Painter booth at Adepticon. Absolutely. Fungazi, good morning. So excited for Adepticon. Looking forward to getting out of DC and drinking some spotted cows. Sure, in Milwaukee. Makes sense. Patrick C. Davis, please remember Patrick from Harlingen, Texas, who died suddenly this week. He was a faithful listener to this program for years. Mr. Adam, keep him and me, his wife, in your prayers. Like I said, very sorry to hear that. It's my sympathies. I hope things don't get. I don't know. I'm not good at this type of thing, but I hope that everything with time gets better. Let's see here. Hello from the wilds of Connecticut. Waffling between building my new Eldari combat patrol or doing adult things. My kids don't need to be fed, do they? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming so, but I'm not a kid haver myself. I feel like I'm a little too dark over here. Let me turn on the light. That helps maybe a touch. It's very dull and gray today. I think it's going to rain. Morning from Quebec. How you doing? Terrence, 3 sleeps to Adepticon? Indeed. I got a lot of stuff to get done. Rod, good morning. Nick, dropping in from the overcast Sussex, UK, finishing off my Bad Squiddo Pulp Heroin. Heroin? Not heroin, but, yeah. Lady Heroes is what I'm trying to say, but I don't know how to quite pronounce it, maybe? I don't know. Minis, though. Yes, absolutely. One of these days, I do hope to meet Annie from Bad Squiddo. We were on a call once together. We were in a podcast or a live stream or something once years ago, but it's been some time. Double Dip, good afternoon from Kent. Hello from overcast London. Good morning from Yukon, Oklahoma. How you doing, BF Bulldog? Morning from Middle Tennessee. Good afternoon from Amsterdam, building some MDF terrain and American mobile home. Morning from Hamilton, Ontario. Good morning from Quebec City. About to start painting, but coffee first. Coffee is very important. Good morning from Northwest Ohio, doing some finishing touches on my Alpha Strike list for Adepticon. Will be my first year going. Nice. Well, congrats. Good morning from Cleveland, painting some Trench Crusade this morning in the hopes I get it a game at Adepticon. Nice. Zingbo, how you doing? Standard pleasant evening here. Good to hear. I'm looking forward to it being spring around my neck of the woods. It's still very not spring. Morning from chilly New York. Hype for the Snarling Badger podcast. Yep, it'll go. It'll go live on YouTube tomorrow. So if you were so inclined, you could subscribe to the new Snarling Badger Studios channel right there. And you could, if you just basically go to youtube.com//@Snarling Badger Studios. I don't know why they're doing that, why they're putting an @ symbol after the slash. It's the dumbest thing. But nonetheless, if you do that, you'll get right there. And then you could, subscribe if you wanted to. We already have 1,500 subscribers, so that's nice. But the the podcast will go live tomorrow morning in my neck of the woods. So maybe about 23-ish hours from now or so. But it's also available on regular places that you get podcasts as well. So if you're smart, you might be able to find it early for sure. But yeah, it'll just be audio. Like if you watch it on YouTube, it'll just be a screen that says the name of the podcast and the title of the episode, and then there'll be us talking. I was trying to find like a plug-in for my video software to make it so that you could get the little waveform, bouncy kind of thing, that would relate to the conversation and stuff like that, the actual audio. And I just couldn't find one that worked well. I found one that I paid for that then doesn't work, which is cool. So I was super happy about that. Anyway, luckily it wasn't expensive. So yeah, there's that. Let's see here. Morning from cloudy Milwaukee, prepping stuff for events I'm running. Nice. Good to see you, Jesse. Greetings from Cleveland, Ohio. Mark, how you doing? Good morning from Tulsa, Oklahoma-ish. First time catching a live show in a long time. Well, Coley, I appreciate that. Good morning from Winneconne. Was hoping to get to Adepticon, but life might be able to go on Wednesday. Will the vendor hall be open then? I don't know. I think that probably a lot of the vendors will be still setting up their booth on Wednesday. So I don't know if that'll be the case. Going from Kentucky, jealous of all the Adepticon nights. That sounds right. Yeah. Have fun, everyone who's going. Absolutely. Great. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Prepping in my old Advanced Hero Quest minis for a major repaint project. Nice. No matter where you go, there you are. Morning from Canada. Feisty Crabman, how you doing? Good morning from Central Texas. How you doing? Any thoughts on the recently announced Kings of War champions? We talked a little bit about it, I think, yesterday in the Patreon live show. From what I understand, I think from what Molly explained, it is basically Kings of War Spearhead or Kings of War Combat Patrol. So it is a smaller than normal game, but it is still using, I think, the standard regular Kings of War kind of rank and flank thing. But you have these sort of bigger kind of champion type people who sort of lead the charge to some degree. And evidently those champions aren't available to buy separately, at least not yet. So that's maybe an interesting vibe, because as it was brought up yesterday, like, well, what if you already have an army and you have all that stuff, but you just want the one champion so that you can then play the game? You don't want to buy the box and then, now you've got duplicates of stuff or whatever. I don't know. But I'm not a rank and flank player, so it's not something that's going to be on my radar particularly, but it's interesting to hear about them. So good afternoon from Athens, Greece. Getting ready to try the new kill team for first time. Always prefer Warcry. Be interesting to see if we hear about anything at Warcry at Adepticon. I'll tell you that, because we haven't heard anything about it at all in quite some time. Are you going to be playing Trench Crusade and uploading the battle reports? Maybe at some point. I mean, I'm playing Trench Crusade. Like, Sam and I have played twice so far, and then we both have been just getting ready for Adepticon, so we haven't been able to play this week or anything like that. But the hope is we're going to play probably some at Adepticon, hopefully as well. I know I'm bringing mine. Sam's bringing his. I think Phil, the Glacial Geek, who's also on the factory team, he's bringing his, and then Dave Taylor, very like famous painter Dave Taylor, who's a super nice guy and also affiliated with the factory team to some degree. Him and his podcast, it's him and Jake. They have a podcast called Build, Paint, Play. And anyway, he reached out and was like, "Hey, I heard you guys are talking about like playing some Trench Crusade. So we'll figure out how to do that exactly. I don't know where we're going to get terrain from. I may have to bring some, which is more stuff I'm going to have to pack, but we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. And as far as battle reports are concerned, I want to, but they're hard. So it may take some time. Afternoon from Erskine, Scotland, away swimming. What are your thoughts on Kings of War Champions? I just kind of mentioned that. Good time of day from a cloudy and dull Surrey, UK. How you doing? I'm jazzed up about going to the dealer hall at Adepticon. It'll be my first time going. Nice. Well, that'll be fun. It'll be very different, I think, than it was last year as well. So that'll be interesting too. Good morning from Portland, Oregon. How you doing? Good morning from Florida. Slamming coffee and painting Blood Knights. Gotcha. Engineer Jeff, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Nurgle Matthew, howdy. Can't wait to hear more about your podcast from Newfoundland. Yeah, it's like I said, we've it'll be going live on YouTube tomorrow, and then you'll be able to find it. But it's also currently available technically, because you kind of have to plan ahead when you launch a podcast. Not for YouTube; it's easy to do it on YouTube because you just say make this thing go live at this time. And I think that actually the on YouTube, I think each of the episodes goes live 15 minutes apart. So like because otherwise, if they all go live at the same time, I couldn't figure out if YouTube could figure out which one was episode one, episode two. I don't know what order it would put it in, so I did space them apart 15 minutes because you can't space it apart like 5 minutes with the YouTube thing. Anyway, um, but yeah, it is definitely a something that we've been talking about for a little while, and we decided to kind of go ahead and pull a trigger. But yeah, there'll be 4 different episodes when it launches, and then we'll be doing an episode every 2 weeks. I did have somebody in the comments who was like, "You should really do it every week," and I'm like, we don't have that kind of time. So yeah, that's at least currently that's the case. I see the UK is sending jugs to Adepticon. We look forward to hearing you on their show too. Well, we hope, I guess. I had a conversation with Peachy actually on Friday, and from what I understand, Heathrow Airport had a big fire on Thursday or Friday, on one of the end of the week. And it wasn't like the terminal or anything like that. It was this building kind of far away from everything on the grounds, but it's where all the backup generators are. So flights were just canceled straight up out of Heathrow for at least that day, probably the next day. So he was saying that they're planning on flying. Their original plans were to fly out tomorrow, Monday, and then spend a day or so in Chicago, and then come up to Milwaukee, and then be there for the convention and all that kind of stuff. But now, of course, we don't know whether there's still any flights coming out of Heathrow, or if if their stuff's been delayed or rescheduled, or who knows. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them as well. But you know, life finds a way. I don't know. We'll see. What are you looking for the most at Adepticon? Mainly just talking to people. Well, that and also seeing the new venue. Like I went to see the new venue. I showed some footage in the video that I did on Friday. Not a lot, but just some. But I was back at that venue back in May. I got invited to go with the folks from Adepticon. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna be taking a tour, and we know you live like an hour and a half drive away. Would you be interested in coming and checking it out?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would." So, because I hadn't been in that building since 2002. Um, that was the last year that Gen Con was in Milwaukee, was 2002. And my wife and I, well, she wasn't my wife at the time, she was my girlfriend at the time, but we went to Gen Con. We had originally, my wife and I, well, again, uh, my wife and I met at Gen Con sometime in the 90s. Um, I bumped into a guy that I knew because I was best friends with his older brother. And so I bumped into this guy. His name's Adam, and hadn't seen him in a long time, but we bumped into each other at Gen Con in the vendor hall. And he was walking around with his best friend, a guy named Ben, and then Ben's girlfriend, who is now my wife. Um, and that was the first time I ever met her. And then this Adam and I started hanging out together more after we bumped into each other at Gen Con, because we both lived here in town. And we were into video games and things like that. I wasn't so much into tabletop gaming at the time. And then we started a LAN party, which is where everybody brings their computers together and you play, uh, all on the same network, like, in the same building. And we did that for years. We ran that LAN party from like 1998 until like about 2004, I think. And so I would be over at his place and we'd be playing video games, and I would keep seeing this woman and there. And then eventually she and my friend Adam's she and my friend Adam's uh, roommate broke up, and then years later, I bumped into her at the local bar that I liked to go to at the time, because it was like a block away from my house, and then things just kind of went from there. So anyway, in 2002, our first date was August 17th, 2001. my wife and I. And in 2002, we went to Gen Con, and it was the last year. That's how I know when Gen Con left, because it was the last year, and it was the first year that we were able to go together. And then in 2003 is when it moved to Indianapolis. All that to say, I haven't been in that building in a real long time, and they have completely redone everything, and it is monstrous as well. So there will definitely be plenty of space for Adepticon to grow. There is a anime convention that they do there at that location. It just happened 2-3 weeks ago. They do it every year, and that anime convention is something like 23,000 people. So Adepticon being about 10,000 right now will have plenty of space to grow in that facility, which is great. Let's see here. Finished my War Dogs. Awesome fun. Hope you have a blast at Adepticon. I haven't had a chance to finish mine yet. Basically, I had other stuff I had to get done for now, so they had to get pushed back a little bit. But once I get back from Adepticon, then I'll be doing that. Someone got his ears lowered. I got a haircut, I don't know, last week, I guess. It's good to do so before Adepticon if I can help it, but not like right before. Here in North Carolina, it's in the high 40s, age and temperature-wise, as I'm trying to find miniatures I know I own but can't seem to find. I haven't done that myself. Recovering from flu, but longtime fan, Joe from Oxford, UK. Well, how you doing? I hope you get better soon. Morning from a cold but finally not rainy Southern California. Anything you excited about to see at Adepticon? Like I said, so I'm interested in seeing people, the convention center and everything like that, how things kind of have to change and whatnot just from, moving location. I don't know. Otherwise, I can't think of any other games right now. I am interested in seeing a little bit more about Xeogenesis, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm definitely also interested in seeing, talking with Thomas from Trench Crusade. He's going to be there. Other people from overseas and stuff that you don't get to see too frequently. So yeah. Oh, it's on YouTube. Well, the podcast is going to be on both YouTube, but also it's going to be on regular podcast stuff. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Face. I made that last one up. There's a lot of, like, as you're going through and saying, oh, I would like to submit to this and submit. There's just so many of them, and there's all the ones you've heard of at the top, and then at the bottom, and you're like, oh, we can also do it to Pod, and also Listen Face and Crazy Cast, and you're just like, I don't know if I guess, all right, I'll submit to those, but I don't know what for. You know what I mean? But it'll also be available on YouTube. I was thinking initially we just do it on regular old audio, but Vince was like, well, a lot of people listen to podcasts on YouTube, and I'm like, well, video podcasts, and he's like, no, even regular podcasts, and I'm like, it's another one of those things where I think to myself, well, I don't do it, so obviously no one else does. But that's always untrue, as it turns out. There's a lot of things that I do that nobody else does, so there's that. Good morning from Macomb. Let's see here. Looking forward to saying hi in person next week and getting to thank you for all the great hobby stuff you create. Well, I appreciate that, Mark. Morning from Frozen, again, Cleveland. Only 3 days till Adepticon. Perhaps we shall bump into each other there. I hope so. Does GW keep the old Combat Patrol rules after a new one comes along? I did the Eldari Combat Patrol. Yes, generally, if you go to the website, like they still have the, let's say, like the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels Combat Patrol originally had a Redemptor in it and had a chaplain, and it was cool, and I liked it. And the new one is just like, hey, here's 20 Space Marines or whatever. But the PDF download for the stats and all that kind of stuff, both of those are still on the website. So at least at this point, they're still having the old ones on there too. Any advice on tackling the dealer hall for a noob? The one thing that I will tell you is if you see something and you want it, get it right away. I can't tell you how many times I've been looking at something in a booth and I'm like, let me think about it. I'm going to go down up and down one more aisle and then I'll come back if I want it. Then you come back and it's gone. If you see it, pick it up. Unless there's a giant pile of them. And even then sometimes. But yeah, there's been many times where I'm like, let me think about it a little bit. And then you think about it a little bit and you come back and someone else thought about it faster and there it's gone. So yeah. Annie is awesome. I met her the year I went over to UKGE with Andy. Nice. Yeah, she does seem very, very nice. Good afternoon from Munich, Germany. Let me see here. I'm way behind as per usual. Good morning from Molly, who forgot this wasn't on Twitch. Oh, yeah. Your beard could deflect bullets. I don't think so. Not even BBs. It's like it's a bunch of little hairs, and they go right through there. Look at this. Like that. My finger's not a bullet. It comes right through there. It's amazing. Let's see here. Had a bunch of beers in the beer garden. Nice. Hoping there's an announcement for Blood Bowl. Yeah, it could be. Good morning, Uncle. How you doing? Checking in from Halifax, Canada. Desperately trying to finalize some things for Adepticon. Feeling the pressure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sergeant Major 22. Some say safety first, but it is definitely coffee first. Yes. Let's see here. Hello from Stafford, UK, Toronto, California, Toronto, Canada. Good afternoon from Shidem. Painting my Metal Gear Solid board game today while my girlfriend is doing a jigsaw puzzle. Well, that sounds like a good time. I didn't know there was a Metal Gear Solid board game. Interesting. Good morning from Chile, Connecticut. Good morning from the Pocket Dimension. Stepping out for some brekkie at McDonald's. Ooh, okay. Motor Breath Jazz. Hello. Afternoon from Puckle Church. No hobby today, just listening. Getting over a day of playing Kings of War at a tournament. Well, that's nice. Did you get a bunch of good games in? I hope you had a good time. I'm painting up Git's warbands, doing odds and ends because I don't want to be in the middle of a big project with deep income count. Oh, okay, sure, yeah. What are your Madison food recommendations near Adepticon? Well, the problem is that Madison is not particularly near Adepticon because it is an hour away, I think, from Milwaukee. So Adepticon's in Milwaukee, not Madison. As far as Milwaukee's concerned, there's a place that's basically right across the street called Major Goolsby's, which is like a pretty good burger place. We used to go there back in the day when we were like when Gen Con was still around in the late 90s and into the early 2000s. That place is still in business and running strong, so that's cool. What else? I think on one night we're gonna go to this place. It's either called Matters or Maters, but it's spelled I think Mader apostrophe S, and it's a German place, like kind of a slightly fancy German place. So looking forward to that as well. But otherwise, I haven't been to downtown Milwaukee other than being down there back in May to kind of take a tour. I haven't really been down there in a while. So but there's a lot of stuff around there in comparison to like the way that it was in Schaumburg, where Gen Con has been for the last decade or whatever. Like Schaumburg, you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's almost like an industrial park. So if you don't eat at the hotel, then you are getting in a car and driving someplace because there's nothing that's like technically, sure, you could walk 2 miles. Yeah, you could do that. Fine. But most people are like, yeah, I can do that, but it's also going to take a lot longer. I just want to go to, you know, Jimmy John's or whatever, but that's closest one's 2 miles away. So I'd rather drive. But a lot of people don't want to drive at Adepticon because then that means losing your parking space and then not getting it back, most likely. So the benefit to this being in downtown Milwaukee is that it's in the convention district and there's a lot of restaurants and bars and all kinds of places around there. So it's going to be real nice. It's kind of like when Nova used to be in the old place when it was in several years back, it was in Crystal City, technically. There was like one restaurant within 3 blocks of the place, and that was it. Now moving to where it has moved in DC, there's you walk any direction from the hotel for like 2 blocks and you'll walk past 5 restaurants. So there's lots of places to eat there, which is nice. Wonder if they're going to announce 11th. I have a feeling it'll be here sooner than later. If math is to be believed, they'll announce 11th edition 40K next Adepticon, probably, because it'll probably come out in summer of 2026. 10th came out in 2023, so 3 years, and so yeah. If they announce anything this year, I'm hoping it's going to be Warcry, because it's not that I need them to make a new version of Warcry. Warcry works great as well, but they, other than mentioning it once in December on the Wargame Vault, or not Wargame Vault, sorry, Warhammer Community, they mentioned it once in the like, here's the best models of the year competition or whatever. They haven't talked about Warcry on Warhammer Community since September, so there hasn't been any new product or anything like that, and just it, and I guess a bunch of stuff's being taken away. If you go onto the website now, it's just like online only, most of it. So that's either because they're coming out with a new edition or they're shutting her down, one of the two. So if they decide, hey, we're shutting her down, then I have no idea what they're going to talk about this particular upcoming year, other than just other stuff coming out, I guess. I don't know. Looking forward to the podcast. Painting a Chaos Lord today. So much trim, and always a lot of trim on the Chaos. Martin Orlando, how you doing? Safe travels. Safe travels to you as well. Ravenwing, hello from Peru. How you doing? Alexander, morning. Good morning from Washington D.C. How you doing? Hello from Japan. It's finally spring here. Looking forward to the warm weather and a chance to prime minis outside. That is always nice. Yeah, I'll be priming my Mac models to proxy from OPR HDF forces. Nice. Good morning from Eastern Tennessee. Currently been to Lowe's twice to repair my water heater. Currently draining and flushing it. Well, that doesn't sound like much fun. I hope it goes okay. Looking forward to the new podcast and would love to see some battle reports from y'all. Battle reports are hard as to do well, in my opinion. So I am interested in looking at it again. I was gonna do battle reports. I was gonna try to do a battle report a month, and I did 2 of them. The first one was in January of 2020, and the second one was in February of 2020, and then it was March of 2020, and then there was no more battle reports. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Goodness. So yeah, I don't know. The funny thing too is I put a tiny little clip of the battle report in the video that I did on Friday, and I had to go and like find some footage, and I swear I had a camera that was supposed to have like image stabilization, but still everything looked kind of wiggly. So I got to figure out a better system for that, because people don't like that wiggle cam too much. There was a bunch of people that complained about the camera that I used to film the video, because it would move a little bit when I would move, and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know, it doesn't bother me, but I think it's cool. Anyway. Looking forward to I just read that one. Good morning. Clearwater. Been watching you for years while I hobby. Your channel is like nostalgia mixed with comfort food for me. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate that a lot. So we all meeting up at the Trench Crusade demo booth, right? I mean, I'm going to be in the I'm going to be at the Army Painter booth on and off every day. I've got probably like specific hours that I need to be there or whatever. I think that we're getting a schedule soon. Some of our scheduling and stuff like that is currently a little bit behind, I think, because our event coordinator, Kat Jackson, who's amazing, they're at GaryCon this week. So GaryCon is a convention for role-playing games. Basically, it's called GaryCon because of Gary Gygax. And it takes place in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which is where Dungeons and Dragons and TSR, the company that made Dungeons and Dragons, that's where it originally started. It was Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It's about a 2-hour drive from here. And I know that because as soon as I get done with this and I shut it down, I'm getting in the car and driving there. So Army Painters in the vendor area this weekend. They've never done GaryCon before. And a big reason they've never done GaryCon before is because for like the last 5 or 6 years, GaryCon's been the same weekend as Adepticon. Every single time. So this year, GaryCon's the weekend before, and which is great. So the Army Painter is there. I'm going because Adam from the Army Painter, if you've ever seen any of their videos, you've probably seen Adam. Basically, I'm going there to pick him up and then drive him back up here, and he's going to be staying in the same town, which is a couple of towns over. He's going to be staying in a hotel there and hanging out with Sam a lot. They're going to be doing they're going to be paint jamming and stuff like that on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, then they're going to drive to Milwaukee. I will also drive to Milwaukee. Um, and so, yeah. So I've never been to GaryCon before. I'm literally going to get maybe 45 minutes of GaryCon because for some reason it closes at 2. I've never gone to a convention before that closes at 2 on a Sunday, but whatever. So I'll check it out a little bit. I've been to the facility before, so I'm familiar with it. Um, because it's where Dragonfall is, which is a convention that happens in October that I like quite a bit. But it's, from what I understand, GaryCon is like 2 to 3,000 people, and I think Dragonfall is predominantly just miniatures, which is cool. But it is also like maybe 300 people, 3 to 400 people max, so considerably smaller. Let's see here. Played Trench Crusade for the first time on Thursday. Excited to see more. Nice. Good morning and nice glasses. Thanks. These are my not normal glasses. These are my normal glasses that I wear. And these are my ones that I wear when I'm sitting in front of the computer. They're progressive, lenses, like, no line bifocals or whatever you want to call them, just like my regular ones, but they're designed for closer focus. So when I look out the window, things are blurry outside, whereas that's not the case with these. But with those glasses, when I'm sitting at the computer, I have to kind of lean back a little bit to look through the bottom to focus on stuff, and with these I don't. Plus they have like blue blocker stuff in them, so I don't get I don't know, the blue light or whatever that comes from monitors and stuff, something like that. So I leave these here and then I just swap, but they are different than my normal frames. So that way I don't get them mixed up. That was looking forward to Trench Crusade content. Cool, good to hear. Missed Kings of War Champions talk. So they have full flavor Kings of War, a skirmish Kings of War, and now Champions. It's getting hard to keep up. I mean, it's kind of like 40K or for like, Age of Sigmar. You've got your skirmish version and you've got your full version, and then you've got like Combat Patrol or Spearhead, which is basically to kind of head you into the full version. And they're doing kind of the same thing here, it sounds like, to some degree with Champions. Good morning from Hudson, Illinois. My local FGList has just started carrying Pro Krill. Cool. Hi from Brigand. Just trying to put some mud on my Pershing, as one does, indeed. Morning from Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Planning on going to Adepticon on Saturday. Newer to 40K, never went to Adepticon. Any recommendations for must see, must do? Definitely go through the vendor hall. Definitely, if you're getting into 40K, you're going to want to walk around and take a look at the 40K tournament, which will probably be in the vendor hall. So, well, not really in the vendor hall. If it's anything like they've done it in the past, and I don't honestly know if it is, they usually have like one big, huge, giant room. And in the middle of it, back in the old days, was the vendor hall. And then at 6 o'clock or something p.m., they can have these big partitions that close off the middle part. And then you either go in one side to come in and hang out over here, and then over here is the 40K stuff and usually Battletech stuff, or you come on this other side over here, and this is usually like Asmodee stuff, like Marvel Crisis Protocol and Star Wars Shatterpoint and Legion and all that jazz. I think they're using one of those big giant expo halls for that same purpose again this year. Again, new location, so they're moving everything else around. But I think that's what they're doing. One of the benefits is that big, huge, giant hall. I think one of the entire walls is just glass, so you're going to get decent like daylight and stuff like that, during the day and everything. So that's cool. Sometimes the fluorescence, like after a long day of fluorescence, I can get a super big headache. But what was my point? So you definitely want to check that stuff out, but there's also going to be all kinds of other little places all over the place. If you get the chance, download the app. If you go to their website, if you go to the Adepticon website, I think that they mentioned the app someplace. At least I think so. Well, there's a map of area, which goes to an external link here, so we can see that. Well, that's not what I meant. I thought they meant map of like the place, not the. That makes sense. Venue, Baird Center, Accessibility, know before you go, blah, blah, blah. Hobby seminars, merchandise, exhibitor hall map, at least. We got that. So, yeah, there's that information on the website. If you want to look at that stuff, lots of companies of who's coming and whatnot. But I thought there was like a full blown, well, if you go into that section there, which is info, they have the on-site app both for Android and iOS. But if you just go to your Android or your iOS and just search the word Adepticon, you'll find it. So, yeah. And then the benefit to that is it has um, information about where everything is. There's just, there's a really nice map that goes on. It's kind of interactive and stuff like that. So that's a benefit as well. Let's see here. Uptown in Chicago. How you doing? Good morning from sunny Saskatchewan. How you doing? You can get terrain in the open play area. Ask Housemans. I'm sure that Doug or the boys can lend you some pieces for a PUG of TC. I don't know what a PUG is. Pickup game? Pickup game. There you go. I know you generally say con videos do poorly, but is love to see a synopsis of the new venue for those who are in the Adepticant category. Yeah, I am thinking about doing obviously a bit more footage this year because of the new location, and people are going to be very curious about it and stuff like that. I don't know anything about the internet there, about the Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi is strong, I might even try to stream a little bit, but we'll see. I don't know. That was the one thing I forgot to check when I was there back in May. Plus, well, I was going to say, plus there wasn't really that many people in the building at the time, but there was an entire convention going on another floor that we just barely. There was the convention was called I think Curiosities and Oddities Expo, or else it's the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, one of the two. And that was really kind of cool actually, because like we were going through and doing this tour and all that kind of stuff, and at the end then they gave us like comp tickets to go into this expo to check it out. And I thought I was just going to walk around and look at the facility a little bit and be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was in there for like 3 hours because it was like weird taxidermy stuff, and it was like weird goth stuff, and it was like I bought some t-shirts. I bought a t-shirt with Mothman on it. I bought a bunch of stickers, like all kinds of cool stuff. So I don't know, it was I thought it was kind of neat. But that entire convention was going on. They were also setting up for like an MMA fight that night, and also they showed us all the other places that weren't being used yet. Like it's a big facility. Let's hope that we have some new Adepticon news about the future of Warcry, new edition, Mordheimish. Yeah, I don't know. Noob Painter, how you doing? Champions will be its own thing, separate from Kings of War, but using the same models, and the order system sounds good. And it was made by the Goblin King Rob Berman. So it's not just Kings of War, but with fewer models. It's a different system. Interesting. Flights have resumed mostly. Well, that's good to hear. I'm assuming we're talking about the Heathrow. There we go. That's good. Need more coffee. Sure, I get that. Be interesting to see the new facility. I haven't been in it since Gen Con was there. Yeah, same here. Hello from Portland, Oregon. Just started working on my second Trench Crusade faction. Nice. Initially, my thought was my second Trench Crusade faction was going to be Heretic Legion, but now I'm wondering if I kind of want to try to do Cult of the Black Grail, because I think they'd be a little bit more fun to paint. A lot of Nurgle kind of stuff going on there. That's what I could do. Let's see here. Morning from Elko, Illinois, where I got stuck working at 12 instead of being home in Jonesboro, eating breakfast with my girlfriend and watching Uncle Adam on in leisure. Well, I hope that things get better. Is the plan to have Adepticon there in 2026 as well? From what I understand, yeah. I'm thinking they probably had to sign some sort of contract and be there for a while. The reason they moved out of the old place was because they just literally had outgrown it. When they moved to Schaumburg, I think Adepticon was about 5,000 people, maybe 6. And then over the years being in Schaumburg, like last year, they hit 10,000 people. So, yeah, it's just a situation of like that space was no good anymore. There were literally only 400 maybe hotel rooms, maybe 450, but the company, the hotel company, like they have to save a bunch of hotel rooms. They can't sell out all of the hotel rooms because they have to save a bunch for the what was I told? I think for the airlines, they always have to have a certain amount of rooms available for the airlines in case of like, oh, this is a, whatever. So there's that going on, and there's a bunch of other shenanigans. And so if you didn't get into the main hotel, which was incredibly hard to do at that point because there were so many people vying for it at the same time, then you were basically kind of Ubering in every day, or it was a whole thing. With Adepticon now in Milwaukee, I was told that something like within 3 to 4 blocks of the hotel, there's something like 1,300 hotel rooms because there's multiple different hotels. The benefit, I think, what happens is almost every single convention gets to a point where it can no longer be in a convention center and hotel combo. It gets to the point where they need a convention center and then hotels around the convention center. It's the way Gen Con does it. It's the way that Adepticon's doing it now. But yeah, glad to hear you didn't try to cut old Ben's grass right away. No, no, no. Stoked about the new Conflict 47 they're going to be showing off. Yeah, I guess I would like to check that out maybe as well. You're right. Yeah. Probably for the next 5 years. It's usually how these contracts go. Yeah, 3 or 5 sometimes. Yeah. How's your mom? She's doing okay. She's doing okay. I'm going to see her Tuesday night. Yeah, we're going to have dinner with her on Tuesday night. Getting some deep Uncle Adam lore today. Yes, yes, it's true. This morning I just got a copy of Skaventide for my birthday. Well, happy birthday. Well, that's pretty cool. It's a good box. I won't be at Adepticon. In fact, it looks like I'll have to work next weekend too, but I will have a mini in the Badger Games contest at their booth. Well, that's cool. Let's see here. Bit late to the party. Maybe you should let the hair grow. It's been a while since the Fez made an appearance. It's true. The thing is that, well, honestly, if the Fez was going to make an appearance, it'd probably be more likely to make an appearance in the winter because it's kind of hot to wear, so it's not great in the summer up there. Good morning from Alexandria. Trying to work on my Imperial Knights this morning, but I can't seem to decide when I'm done. Yeah, that is always a thing. It look good on the table, but I keep finding more details to paint. They say that art is never finished; it's just abandoned. Abandoned. So there you go. Do you know any decent sized models I can bash into a brazen bull? No, not particularly. That is the thing about Trench Crusade is that you can use whatever you want and you can kit bash and they're totally into that kind of thing. But sometimes you go, I don't know what I would use to do this thing. You know what I mean? Perhaps in Warcry, there's that he's not a centaur. I don't know what the heck he is. He's kind of like a minotaur. There's that guy. I forget his name specifically, but there's like a guy it's a Warcry model, and he's kind of a minotaur, and he's got a shield and like a spear. Maybe that guy would be a jumping off point. I mean, he's not really a bull per se, but he does have horns, so good morning from Southeast Alaska. Going to work on kit bashing some minis for 1490 Doomed while listening to your awesome show. Well, that's very cool. I'm way behind. Oh my goodness. And then the thing moved. There we go. Okay, so Gen Con, I hope we get more info on the Gundam model game thing. Oh, at Gen Con? Yeah, potentially. Glad to see GW keeping online rules for those of us that build and paint slower. I always brag on them when they deserve it. Sure. Absolutely. Let's see here. Off topic, bought my third motorcycle in the stable yesterday and a little sidetracked. Gotcha. Cool. How do you feel about the current state of Age of Sigmar? I like Spearhead. I'm not super into the main game because I'm not an army game enjoyer. I'm generally more of a smaller kind of force thing, but I do like Spearhead. I think that's pretty cool. Um, I have 2 painted Spearheads now. I've got Skaven and Giants. Kind of 2 ends of the spectrum as far as size is concerned. Yeah. Also putting together a fire A Darkfire Designs ATTE that I printed with my A1. Not familiar with that. Morning from Iowa. Any must-eat places in Milwaukee for all this cooking from out of town? Um, like I said, I think that I like Major Goolsby's for sure. And if you like German food, there's at least a couple good restaurants, I think, around there. A group I am part of uses the rules of Burning Man. Consent first, safety third, second is negotiation. I don't know what that's related to. Good morning from sunny Pittsburgh, placing bets on a potential announcement for a Mordheim relaunch. Oh, God, I kind of hope not. You know what I mean? I think I talked about that in a video, actually, about how they should probably just leave it alone. I listen to a ton of audio-only stuff on YouTube on my phone. I despise having to dodge folks that would walk around in public with their heads in their phones. Video content is for watching on the couch. Yeah, I don't disagree. That's why we were like, because initially he was like, well, do we want to do a video podcast? I'm like, it's just going to be us in our respective offices. You know what I mean? I don't know that there's anything interesting in that situation. Plus, editing is also a lot harder than when you do that kind of stuff too. So I'm doing all the editing and everything. So it's just easier. And I don't know. The sound is okay. I keep comparing, it's stupid, but I keep comparing the audio from the podcast that we're doing to podcasts that I listen to that are, you know, they have engineers, like sound engineers and like staff and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it just doesn't sound quite as good. And you're like, well, yeah, they don't. There's a professional who's done it for probably a lot of years, who knows exactly how to make it work or whatever. And I'm just kind of figuring it out and watching a lot of videos on YouTube about how to do it. It's okay. It's not unlistenable, I hope so, and it'll get better hopefully over the time. Good morning from Albuquerque. 2 sleeps until the wife and I head to Wisconsin for our anniversary trip. Nice. Looking forward to Hemetsu. That's from Blacksite Studios. And some Canadian friends. Nice. Swinging Door Saloon is excellent as well. Great food and a classic Wisconsin spot in downtown Milwaukee. I don't know if I've ever been. Been to Adepticon once before, but with my mates going solo this year. Any advice for events, groups to make new friends? I mean, generally you just kind of walk around and just, you know, especially if you're hanging out by like where gaming is happening of a game that you like. You know, if you're like into Battletech, hang out over by the Battletech stuff. If you're into 40K or Age of Sigmar or, you know, Malifaux or Saga or all that kind of stuff. One of the big benefits this year is that they won't have to separate things as much as they did in the past. Not so much like different places will have different rooms. And if you do download the app, and you look at the map, you can click on some of the rooms and it will show these are all the 12 different games that'll be potentially in that room at any time. So you can know if you're like trying to find someone like, oh, where are the people playing, you know, Battlefleet Gothic? You'll be able to find it. So that's really kind of nice. But the last several years at Adepticon, they've had to send all the historical people over to a completely separate building that was not close. You had to take a shuttle. It was not like, oh, I'll just walk over there. It was like miles away. And so now, because of the new bigger space, everybody's back in the same building again. So that's a benefit. Because I think the last year of Adepticon in Schaumburg, I think not only did they move over the historical people, but they might have moved over the Age of Sigmar folks too, to a completely separate building, and that's kind of a bummer. So having it all together is going to be real nice. Listening in Spokane while I paint some chaos cultists and sip on some coffee. Nice. Organizing hobby space. Ordered battalion case from Combat Company. Not heard of them. Digging out stuff to get rid of. Found hobby room walls moldy. Oh, that's no fun. Moldy walls are never good. Hope your day is treating you well so far. Not too bad. Not too bad. Coming from corner of I-29 and 90 Eastern Sodamino. I don't even know where that is. Found them somewhere. I looked at least 4 times. They're for my Retro Mutant Chronicles project, arming 90s Warzone minis with Resurrection and Eternal Weapons, aka Madness. Nice. Great guide to Milwaukee writing by a local gamer. Good morning from Rhode Island. Really been enjoying your Trench Crusade content. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Any plans on hitting Game Expo here in the UK? Not particularly. Someday I would like to, but it may not be for a while. Yeah, I don't know. Like travel, like going to conventions I'm going to, like with Army Painter and stuff like that, that's fine. But I think that for a little while, maybe traveling around beyond that's going to be a little bit less. Like if it's in the state, like going to Dragonfall and stuff like that, it's about 2 hours away. That's not too bad. But yeah, going outside the country, I'm not sure about it right now. 25 minutes south of Adepticon. Nice. Morning from Middle Tennessee, looking to be a good day. Nice weather, even though the pollen has started busting out. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of the. It's mostly my eyes that I get the allergies in, which is no fun. Does a new edition really move that many books? Why not just more books in the same edition? WotC is learning this could be a bad idea. My assumption is they keep doing it because it does make them money. I mean, if you make your player base have to buy all new books every 3 years, well, then look at that kind of money that's coming in. Now it drives people away, but I don't think that they pay attention to that as much. I don't know. It is odd. I don't get it here. It doesn't make sense to me. Maters, not modders. Maters makes sense. Okay. Wife and I were in Milwaukee a few years back for an IT conference. We walked everywhere, loads of food options, bars, etc., within a few blocks. If you're up for a longer trek, Southeast has many bars. Sure. Hello from the UK. Just sitting down after finishing the washing up. Safe travels to Adepticon. Absolutely. Like I said, for me, it's a 90-minute drive. It will be longer for me to drive to Lake Geneva today than it will be for me to drive to Milwaukee on Wednesday. Good day from Caledonia. Any info on when you'll be manning the Army Painter booth? Don't know yet. Like I said, I think it's because Kat and Caleb and like other people, they've been working the booth at GaryCon this whole weekend. So we did get an email, our factory team folks, we did get an email about the group chat thing that we do. But we haven't gotten a schedule yet. But I'm sure it'll be coming probably Monday or Tuesday. Warning from Rhode Island, currently painting my Steel Rift Authority. Nice. Milwaukee East Side used to be my stomping grounds. Lots of bars and whatnot there. There's also a place that has its own vibes. Check out Brady Street and North Avenue by Farewell. Or is it Farwell? Probably Farwell. And there's Walker's Point area. If you venture that far out, Boone and Crockett for a drink, and Todd, I believe I can fry for great food. Interesting. Warning from Kentucky, can't make it to Adepticon this year, but looking forward to next. Thank you for years of entertainment and support. Absolutely, absolutely. Gaddis Gaming, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Utini, how you doing? Morning from Wisconsin. It's a bagels and rattlings kind of morning. I would think rattlings would like bagels too. Let's see here. So many people and I wish that there were more minis. I'm going to check out Flames of Orion at Adepticon. I probably will. I have the version that they were selling last year, which was the kind of alpha test version. Actually, I was sitting here on my desk. And I was listening to the most recent Hive Scum podcast last night. So I'm going to be checking it out. But I don't know that the new, like, finalized printed version is going to be available at Adepticon, because I think he just sent those off to the printer. So it's probably waiting for that stuff to come back. But let's see here. I think there's a lot of overlap with war games and RPG players. Love Warhammer Fantasy and both. Sure. Finishing my repainting for the Free Blades North American tournament. You should come to the booth and give a demo, or try to ask for John Cleves. He'd be happy to give you a tour demo. I've played Free Blades. I played a demo of it at Adepticon, oh God, 10 years ago maybe? Some time ago, yeah. Nicholas, how you doing? A couple of different Irish food places, Thai food. Is the King and I still there? I remember I ate at the King and I once. I wish that there used to be an Ethiopian restaurant that was really, really good back when Gen Con was around, and it was called Africa Hut, and we would go there every year. And man, it was, but they, I think, retired before pandemic. I think they retired. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, that was good food. I'm no prude. Is there a way to play Trench Crusade with a less Cannibal Corpse album cover vibe? I would say probably Principality of New Antioch then would be the army that you would want. They're very kind of English coded almost, I feel. Principality of New Antioch, like the models are very like you've got some power armor guys, you've got stiff upper lip, kind of like World War One looking, big mustache kind of soldiers and stuff like that. And yeah, I would say probably that's probably the faction you would take a look at is the Principality of New Antioch. Um, because I'm running Trench Pilgrims. Trench Pilgrims are a little bit more, let's say, extreme, just in general. Yeah, Principality is probably the way you want to go. Kings of War Vanguard is over. Well, that's a bummer. That was the kind of smaller skirmishy type thing, right? Warning from Iowa. Looking forward to Adepticon. Sadly, I'm going to miss the creator meetup this year. Yeah, it's on Wednesday night, right? I have to figure out where it is because I don't know. Um, Warning from Seattle. Going to give Oil Wash a try on some BattleTech mechs today. See you Wednesday. Milwaukee's a fun city, not too expensive, unlike other cities. Explore a bit, and you'll find great places. If you like sweeter cocktails, order a Wisconsin Old Fashioned, generally a default. True, true. Sunny and cold here in Toronto. Went to a convention and bought a bunch of used Marines. I'm Templaring up. Neat. Daylight striking a 40K tournament. How many players will burst into flames or at least go blind? Probably at least a couple. These things happen. Howdy from the French Alps. Once again late. It's okay. We probably screwed stuff up. The daylight saving has happened over here, but it's not the same, and it's very strange. I honestly love con videos and travel logs. Yeah, I mean, I do too, but in the early days of the channel, I would make videos about going to Adepticon and like, all kinds of stuff like that, and they just nobody would watch. I think that I think a lot. I think that the number of people, obviously, that go to conventions in comparison to the number of people who are in the hobby, it's a very small percentage that go to conventions. And I think there's a lot of folks that are just not, that are either unable to due to distance or cost or social anxiety or just they just never have the like they got several kids and two jobs or stuff like that, and you just don't have the time to take off and go to a convention or whatever. So I think that happens a good deal. um so there are people that are just like, I don't want to watch this, I'm not ever going to go to a convention, or I have no interest in going to a convention and that kind of stuff, and I get it. For me, I like to watch convention videos because I'm like, well, if I was ever going to go to that convention, I would like to kind of see what it looks like, or like how it is and stuff like that. So for me, I like that, but I get it. Let's see here. Going to Adepticon and Milwaukee Public Museum, which is 2 blocks away as well. Nice. That's cool. I didn't realize the museum was so close. I guess it's been a while since I've been there for sure. Just starting Gaslands. Any recommendations on vendors at Adepticon that offer bits, terrain, etc.? With Gaslands specifically, what you might want to do is there is a company called North Star Military Figures. Let's look them up. North Star Military Figures. Let me do this. There we go. So they make a bunch of cool plastic miniatures for different games and stuff like that. They also make metal miniatures and all kinds of jazz. Are we going? There we go. That being said, if you scroll down to Gaslands here, they have these plastic sprues that they sell. Now, these guys, like I said, I don't think are going to be at Adepticon. There might be other people there who have stuff. I just don't know anything off the top of my head. But these are the coolest kits that I've come across for Gaslands, for like customizing your Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars or whatever. It's two plastic sprues, or maybe it's just one plastic sprue you get twice. I don't remember. Two plastic frames, weapons, armor, drivers, and much more. And there's some motorcycle dudes, which you may be interested in or not, but there's all kinds of like extra exhausts, and there's weird like rocket pods and missiles and machine guns and flamethrowers and all kinds of stuff. There's like a battering ram thing over here. There's like corrugated, tin that you can put over parts. So these things are cool. You might be able to find this at your local store as well, but it depends on whether they carry this kind of thing. My local store used to carry it. I don't know if they still do. But I own a couple of these, and I guess now there's a new one too. So you could just order directly from these guys. It's 12 pounds, so it's but and then it's called Implements of Carnage, and this is the new one, Implements of Carnage 2, which kind of is a bit more about dune buggies and some other stuff. So I've not picked this one up, but these are the coolest little like greeblies and things that you can stick on your vehicles to really customize them that I've come across. I'm assuming there's probably 3D printable stuff as well. Don't know if you've got a 3D printer or not. Like I don't have a 3D printer. I have a 3D printer that would print terrain better, but this little tiny stuff, my 3D printer is not necessarily great for. But a resin one would be fine probably. So anyway, that's something to think about. Like I said, I've used not this set, but the previous set, the Implements of Carnage 1, and they're super cool. These are great little, just little additional things to stick onto your current Matchbox cars and things like that to customize them. Looking at getting into Trench Crusade, what are good GW models for the different factions? I know that Sam has been doing he's been doing Heretic Legions, and he's been using mostly GW models that he's been kit bashing. I know he uses Death Corps of Krieg bodies, and then the Sisters of Battle heads, the ones with the closed helmet, and then he's been using those as his like regular troopers and stuff like that. There's a lot of different things that are available. I see that LVO is moving to a larger venue for their October event. Yeah, so they're moving to a different venue. They're moving to a different time of year. I'm not going to be able to go to this Adepticon, I'm not going to be able to go to this LVO because I already went to last LVO. We've already had first LVO, but what about second LVO? And it's the same weekend as Dragonfall, which is the convention in Lake Geneva that I like to attend. And so, yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But next year, 2026, I'll probably go to it with the Army Painter folks, I'm assuming, in October, because I think they're going to just move it to October now instead of it being in January like it has been. Which I got to be honest, flying to Vegas in October from the Midwest is easier than trying to fly there in late January, because it's a real crapshoot whether or not you can fly. The first year that Sam was supposed to come to LVO, he couldn't come because like I got out 12 hours before he did, and I got out before the ice storm, and his flight was canceled, so it's just the way that it works sometimes living in the Midwest. Working on bolt action troops and vehicles. Nice. Looking forward to meeting you this week. I hope to. Need to finish up a boatload of inserts for our ammo box paint sets today and pack. Nice. Good morning from sunny Pennsylvania. This will be my second time going to Adepticon. Hopefully I will be early enough to grab one of your nice looking skirmish bags. Yeah, so they will go, they'll be available they'll have 100 of them, I believe, available at Adepticon. And I think they're planning on trying to have them, they're going to sell 25 per day. So if you get there and they're like, hey, we're out for today, then just try to show up, I guess, early the next day. That's the way they told me that they were going to try to do it. But if you're not going to be at Adepticon and you're like, I would still like to get a bag. Sorry, I got something in my eye all of a sudden. Then definitely hit up the website. Probably sometime like Thursday. I think Thursday morning they're going to start selling on the website, which is the same time that they'll start selling them at Adepticon. It'll be Thursday. So yeah, I'll try to post some links and stuff like that. So, and they'll have more available on the website. Near 200 of them, 175, 185, something like that. I wonder if Milwaukee near the con center still shuts down like it did back during the Gen Con days. I don't think as much. I mean, I think that maybe the mall did used to. There used to be a mall down there. I don't even know if that mall's around there anymore. Not Grand Central. Grand Avenue Mall. Is that what it was called? I think so. And I know that used to close at like 6, but on the weekends and stuff for some reason. But yeah, I don't think the rest of the places do. I mean, I got invited to an event at some place nearby, some bar slash restaurant, and I think it starts at 8. So it goes till like 11 or something like that. Packing stuff for Adepticon. Hey, Allison, how you doing? Hope to see you there. Bandai is putting the Gundam game for 2026, so while I would like to see more, I'm not thinking we'll hear anything at Adepticon. Probably not. Yeah. And also, the show might be too small for Bandai. Yeah, they're a real big company. I've got to assume they're bigger than GW, right? I don't know. I have no idea. Making breakfast before getting back to work on my Golden Demon project. Nice. For a bull, Creature Caster has a Minotaur with a chainsaw gun that might play. Oh, yeah. Ogroid Myrmidon. That's the name of the guy. Exactly. Um, Morning from New York, making breakfast before get. I just read that. I'm going to the wrong way. I grabbed 4 copies of White Dwarf yesterday. 3 because they had Mordheim stuff in them, and the fourth had the full tilt jousting minigame in it. Nice. Death Ray Designs has a bunch of new stuff for Steel Rift that they announced. Maybe check that out. Pro Krill has 18 new paints releasing. Nice. Conventions are like the first week of college. Wear a t-shirt, find others with a similar one, have fun, be friends forever. Sure. Hope you're well. I'm currently working on Cetra for Tomb Kings of the Old World. Lots of pinning needed though, but doing well. I have never been to Adepticon, hoping to in the future. Nice. Morning from Silver Lake, Wisconsin, working on hostels from the last war. Cool. Having a hard time finding hostile minis such as trench maggots and mud ghouls. Any good suggestion? I don't know about mud ghouls, but that could be a lot of different things. Trench maggots, Wargames Atlantic. I believe they sell a sprue that's designed for the last war, and I think it has some trench maggots on it in plastic. Wargames Atlantic. They have some Trent. I think because initially they sold like a box that had a bunch of stuff in it, including a special sprue, but they might sell the sprue separately now. I'm not sure. Battletech Grinder is a great spot to meet people if there's table space. Sure. Open gaming tables, you can meet people for pickup games. Also true. I hope they leave their greasy mitts off of Mordheim. The community does fine without GW getting involved. If they did anything at all, collect all the original rules in a reprint and sell new figures. I made a video a while back about like it is dumb that they are not reprinting the Mordheim book in print on demand. It would be so simple. Wizards of the Coast does it with a bunch of old D&D stuff. Like lots of companies are like, well, we have this stuff. And rather than printing a bunch of books in China, getting them shipped over here, warehousing them, blah, 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 all that stuff, just upload it to a company like DriveThruRPG, Wargame Vault, etc., and then get it. People will order it. It gets printed on demand, and then it gets shipped to that person, and that person now has a print copy of Mordheim, and they're happy. Like, it wouldn't be the hardest thing to do. And I don't know why they're not, but they just refuse to do that. So sound quality of the podcast is fine. You can get away with any imperfections, if there are any, with general talking podcasts. It's more important to have clearer audio for audiobooks and such. Sure, that makes sense. No matter how much good sound insulation I put around me, I just can't seem to get rid of a tiny echo in my studio, or maybe I'm imagining it. Yeah. And it's not bad in here. I think that because Vince is in a bigger room, I think he gets a touch more kind of echo or reverb a little bit. I get a little bit less. Also, I'm using a dynamic mic and he's using a condenser mic. I would love for both of us to be on the same mic, not the exact same mic, but like the same brand of mic or whatever. Just because then that way the sound would be a little bit easier to sort of like correlate, maybe. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's see here. Good morning from the hub of the universe. How you doing, James? Currently working on painting my Corvus Cabal warband for Warcry narrative event at Adepticon. I have a Crusade model kit bashed with my warband, and I'm happy with how it's turning out. Well, cool. Nice. Hello from South Korea. How you doing? Just got a bunch of old Space Marine helmets for my new Black Templar project. Mark 7 helmet has so much grimdark vibe, and I still love it. Nice. Going from Florida, I swear Uncle Adam is moving more GW stock than GW. I just got White Dwarf issue 509 and a box of War Dogs and Armor just to try out Combat Patrol. I mean, you know, when they do something cool, I'm going to talk about it for sure. That's unfortunate. I haven't talked about it for quite a while. The King and I Chinese place is still open. I thought it was Thai. The other hopping food place will be the 3rd Street Market, which is basically a food court in the old Grand Avenue Mall. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. There's a great food mart when you go to Origins. It's a couple blocks away, and it's a really good place in Columbus, Ohio. Adepticon visitors should stick around for the Brewers home opener on Monday. It's so odd that they've moved. Like, baseball used to be beginning of April. That's when baseball started. And now they're like, how about late March? And you're like, that's weird. Like, it could snow. I mean, technically in Milwaukee, they've got a dome. I mean, well, it's one of those that can open, but, you know, so they wouldn't get snowed on, but still. Another thing that Adepticon visitors should also know is that I believe there's going to be 3 Bucks games while we're in town. So parking is going to be interesting, I think. If you get there earlier in the day, it'd probably be okay. Later in the afternoon or into the evening times, it might be getting harder and harder to get parking because the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be playing. I guess there's also some sort of wrestling event going on across the street too. AEW, AWE, something like that. Anyway. I bought the Army Painter Speed Paint Starter set at the con too. Any advice? How are they different from GW Contrast? So first of all, they're in dropper bottles, which means it's incredibly difficult to spill them. They also don't dry out as quickly. So there's that benefit as well. As far as the actual materials and stuff like that, I feel like the Army Painter paints, the speed paints have a tendency to blend a little bit better together. And I don't mean like you're blending 2 colors together, like blue and green or something like that. Although that works relatively well, but I personally don't have a tendency to do that. What I'm talking about is like you're painting, let's say, a big smooth shoulder pad on a Space Marine, and you get half of it done, and now you're out of speed paint on your brush, so you have to go back and get some more, and then put it on the brush, and then continue the rest of the shoulder pad. I have found that you get less of that overlap with speed paints. They maybe don't, I don't feel like they dry quite as quickly or something. I don't know what it is, but they don't seem, I don't have a problem. What do they call it? Tide marks, coffee stains, something like that. And it's because you've taken a transparent color that dries so quickly that when you bring the other transparent color over and you have them kind of overlap a little bit, so there's not like a space in between where you know, on this thing, then you get double transparency, which means it gets darker. So you get this line where you stopped and then had to go and get more and then come back. Now, admittedly, if you are like halfway through with the shoulder pad and you go get a sandwich, it'll be dry. But if you're just like dipping back into the thing and then coming back, it blends together better, I find. Also, I like the colors better. There's more kind of browns that I like, or brown adjacent things. I'm a big fan of browns. But yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. It is. There's a how many full colors are there in the set? 89, I believe. I think it's 89 colors plus 1 bottle of medium. So yeah, it's a total of 90 bottles, but only 89 of them are colors, the rest of them. And then of course there's the metallics, which contrast paint doesn't have metallics. Speed paints, it's the only type of paint like that, contrast like, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no one else makes metallics. Vallejo doesn't. Does Scale or somebody else makes something that's like contrast paints? Is it Scale? I know Vallejo does. Obviously, GW does, but there's some other company that makes something too. And yeah, nobody makes metallics. And the metallics for Army Painter are the metallic speed paints are awesome. I was just using them yesterday. Your video on Knights Combat Patrol inspired me to get the newest White Dwarf. Middle Earth info, Harlequin combat patrol, and tons of lore. Nice. It's like old school White Dwarf. Well, that's good to hear. Those implements of Carnage are quite slick. I use them on my truck that I will have with me at the show. Nice. Badger Games will be there, and I think that they have Gasland stuff. Oh, yeah, no, but Badger Games, if they're there, and I'm pretty sure that you're right, they will be there, then they would generally keep, yeah, they have all kinds of cool. Badger Games is one of the coolest places, I think, that at the vendor hall, because I can end up buying stuff from small indie manufacturers that you can never find anyplace else. Like, I've bought a bunch of, we were talking about Annie from Bad Squiddo Games. Like, I've bought a bunch of her stuff from Badger at Adepticon because they're like the only company that carries her stuff here in the States that I've seen. There may be other places that do, but like they're, yeah, they carry a lot of great stuff. Switched over to the more obvious way to find me at Adepticon this week. Hope to see you lots there at the Elric Hobby booth. Absolutely. I get what you mean by travel vlogs in the early days. However, your early days were 10-ish years ago. Well, technically, I forgot just recently that at the beginning of March, it's been 12 years. I was going to mention it, and then it was literally like, I think this last week during this live stream, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally missed that anniversary, didn't I? It's okay when you miss anniversaries and it's your own anniversary of yourself. It's not cool when you like miss your like wedding anniversary and jazz like that, you know? However, the early days of 10 years ago, the popularity of cons, the hobby, and travel vlogs has gone up since then. Could be fun. Yeah, could be. Could be. Let's see here. There we go. Those implements of Carnage are quite slick. I use them on my truck. I just read that. Badger Games in Wisconsin has a website almost identical to North Star military figures that if you want to order from the States. Also nice. Good to know. Good to know. After second LVO, it's time for LVO 11sies. Yes. LVO will be year-round. It will take over an old casino hotel that will have high roller suites. I mean, Verco's Vault is a thing now, so why not a year-round gaming venue? I don't know that they'll do that because they got stuff to do. Well, first of all, LVO, like, you know, is run by Frontline Gaming, and they've got, I don't know, 6 other shows that they do now, too. They, you know, they got the Bay Area open, they got the Chesapeake open, they got a lot of different shows. From what I understand, the reason they had to move, I don't know if it was like they ran out of, I think they ran out of space at the Rio, and so they needed to move to this other thing. But the problem is, in my mind, is that yes, this expo hall they're going to be moving to is 3 times larger than the expo area at Rio. Great. But there's not a hotel anywhere nearby. Like the closest hotel is the Golden Nugget, which is a little old, a little long in the tooth, as they say, and it's also a mile away. So like you want to lug your armies back and forth from the hotel a mile away. It's on Fremont Street, you know, that's a whole thing. So I don't know. That's going to be real interesting. Whole town used to shut down at 6 p.m. all week. I've been assured they have changed. Well, that's good. First thing you need to know about Bandai's size is that they have their own in-house J-pop band. Wow, that's a thing. HobbyLink Japan have a separate category in their store for Gunpla rather than putting them in science fiction. There's so much Gundam merch available. Interesting. They should do print on demand for BFG too. Yeah, probably should. Pretty sure Sprue Dude sells the sprues with the trench maggots, and you can just get the single sprues too. Yeah, that probably makes sense. I do think it's weird GW doesn't just have a pod service via Wargame Vault. Yeah, like Wizards of the Coast does. Like like BattleTech, like all kinds of companies use Drive-Thru RPG and just go, because here's the deal, and this is what I said in the video. You have like a design intern or a junior designer or somebody like that take the Mordheim files that they have, which I'm sure they have. They may not have the original files, but at the very least they've got PDFs. You go through and you put the PDFs, you lay out each page of the PDF, just dump it into a newer like InDesign template, Adobe InDesign, whatever, and you make this thing, and then you upload it, and then you just don't ever think about it again. And then it's just every once in a while money comes in. Like it's just, yeah, I don't know. Do you know by any chance where Fort Wapple will be located in the new convention center? No, but I know that there's a spot for it. I heard somebody talking about it, but I don't know. It might be in that map thing, though, but I don't know where it's going to be specifically. But I do know there will be one. For those of you who don't know, Fort Wapple is, it's basically like, if you've ever been to Adepticon, and if you haven't, when you first kind of come in the main doors, there's these escalators that go up to like the lobby and all that kind of stuff. And then behind the escalators was where a lot of painters would hang out. There'd be these tables set up and there'd be lights all over, and there were paints you could use, and you could like touch up your models, or you could just hang out there and whatever. And it was just all painters hanging out. And the reason it was called Fort Wapple is because it was kind of set up originally by James Wapple and his wife, Kathy Wapple. Now, unfortunately, a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, maybe now, Kathy Wapple passed away. But James is still out there, fighting the good fight and everything like that. And so that was always like kind of a touch point in the old show. And so people were like, is there going to be a new one? And there is. There always will be, I think. But yeah. I'm just going to use this Carrion Worky thing that I got in the D&D blind box. Cool. Same for the old White Dwarf magazines. I wish I hadn't thrown out my War for Armageddon series. Right on time, an hour late. 3D printing for Legion this morning. What are you up to? Well, I'm doing a show. How you doing, Kelly? Started with OPR, and now I bought an Adeptus Custodes Combat Patrol. Am I doing it right? I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. One-page rules is very cool. I'm assuming they have Custodes stuff if you want to use it for that too, but you can also use it for regular normal Custodes if you want to go down that road as well. North Market gets crowded, but you can get any sort of food you want. Sure. In the Columbus thing, yeah, I think it's called North Market there. Yeah. The Cubs have had snow on opening day in April. I mean, sure, true. You can always in the Midwest get snow in April. Lord knows. Time to get ready for church out here in Oregon. Have a great day, everyone. Absolutely. Most Thai and other Asian restaurants in the U.S. are Chinese. I'm not a fan of having Asian cuisine represented like this. We have a Thai restaurant here in town that we like quite a bit called Bangkok Thai. Snow day. Thanks for the answer on the speed paints. Looking forward to using them. Absolutely. Would love if GW re-releases Mordheim, but I fear this will also cause most people to overlook unofficial fan-made Mordheim content, but who knows, maybe GW will open to unofficial content. They've never really, well, lately they haven't been, but I suppose it's possible. I think that, frankly, they will. The problem is that they would probably rewrite the game if they were going to if they were to re-release it just as is. Great, but I have a suspicion that they would want to write it differently, and then that would be that would make the people who really dig Mordheim sort of unfortunate, and they would have to have old Mordheim and new Mordheim, and always have to it's a whole thing. Gundam makes me long for the days of Robotech. A big fan of big robots. Gotcha. Question for anyone with an answer. Where can I find the best Reuben in Milwaukee? That's a good question. That I don't know. Being able to walk from the convention center is bonus points. Have you heard from moderator Matt recently? Yeah, we played Helldivers 2 on the PlayStation 5 last weekend or 2 weekends ago. Yeah. I think he's going to be at the convention. He posted a picture on Facebook just recently of him playing mini golf, so he's doing fine. Fort Wapple will be 24 hours, so the tradition continues. Good. Wargames Atlantic did just start selling that Trench Last War sprue separately. Okay, gotcha. Dead Animal Bits is an incredibly useful sprue. I mean, depending on what you're doing, but sure. That's a lot of basing material. It is a lot of basing material. Mordheim Clear and Mordheim Classic. Mordheim New Coke. Mordheim Blue. There you go. Ooh, vanilla cherry. There's an orange cream Coke Zero that I'm like, maybe? I might, but I don't want to buy a 12-pack of the stuff. God forbid. I came across a single bottle of the spiced. I don't even know why I did that, but it was this spiced Coke Zero relatively recently. I want to say it was back around Gen Con. I bought it at a CVS. I'm like, oh, I should try this out. I think I threw it away I don't know, a quarter of the way through, it gave me instant heartburn. Just, I don't know what the heck it was. I almost never get heartburn. There are two things that I get instant heartburn. One is spiced Coke Zero, so that's no good. And the second thing is Welch's fruit snacks. They're like gummies, like fruit snacks. And they were in the vending machine at my old job, and I would buy them once in a while, and then I would just be like, oh. And then one day, all of a sudden, I realized, whenever I eat these fruit snacks, I get instant heartburn, and I stopped doing it, and then I just don't get heartburn. I bought a bottle of the orange Coke Zero, nasty. Well, I'll take that into consideration. Mordheim Baja Blast. I do like the Baja Blast Zero well enough. I used to like regular Baja Blast back in the day. That was really a thing, but I just don't drink regular soda anymore. Had the orange cream regular Coke at Wendy's, and it wasn't bad. Well, I hope, Goes well with the skull box from GW. Well, there's a new skull box that GW has had. I haven't looked at it directly, let's say. I haven't seen it in a store, but I still have at least a box and a half of the old skull ones. And those are definitely something you want to hold on to. I mean, you want to use them, but Had someone ask if I could print a Titan for them. Looks like it can squeeze out a Warhound on my Mars 5 Ultra. Just check the test print. Huh. Here's all you need to know about the size difference between GW and Bandai. GW has a couple life-size Space Marine type statues out front. Bandai has a multiple life-size Gundams outside their facilities. Wow, yeah. Had some of the fully leaded orange Coke, and it ain't bad. Orangey but mild. Well, that's good. I'm actually playing in the Mordheim event at Adepticon. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a bunch of different people running Mordheim stuff at Adepticon, and Mordheim is still going, great guns. And GW just isn't paying attention. I don't know. It's really weird. The apple Beetlejuice Fanta is a fun treat for me. I stockpiled it. I had no idea. Pepsi Mask, or Mask. Pepsi Max translates into sugar-free product better than Coke, but not consistently. Yeah, I know that. Is it Pepsi Max? Is that basically like their version of like Coke Zero, kind of? I remember, I forget what they call it, something different over in like Denmark when I was over there last year. Baja Mordheim reminds me of Baja Blast color theme Nemesis Claw team. Baja for the Baja. I don't know how to. I don't even. Maybe. Tend to drink mostly fruit flavor zero sugar sodas. I have recently discovered, this is my nighttime snack, is I will have sometimes it's like just local store brand. It's like Kroger's Big K brand grapefruit soda, but it's like zero sugar, and that works. I think it's because grapefruit's not the sweetest thing in the world to begin with. So when you're making it like diet grapefruit, you don't notice the diet portion of it. I don't know, but it's pretty good. What did you use to clean your pop palette? Got distracted by work on the stream Friday when you said, just hot water and old toothbrush. From what I understand, you can take those silicone palettes, and if you put them in the top rack of a dishwasher, if you've got a dishwasher, that's also supposed to do a pretty good job. But I needed it faster than that and whatever. So I just, like I said, some hot water and old toothbrush, and that worked out pretty well. Maybe GW is positioning Old World Skirmish instead of investing in Mordheim. I mean, possibly, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I feel like they haven't been pushing Old World much. Like, it's out there, it's available, but they haven't been like hammering on it much. I don't know. I could be missing some stuff too, so that's a possibility as well. I'm using the GW skull box currently to give horse-like skull masks for my LOR Wildman from the War of the Rohirrim. Oh, that's pretty cool. Spring has sprung. I can hear the Canadian geese chasing kids on the lawn outside my building here in Toronto. That's kind of how it works, yeah. I had some run-ins with some Canadian geeses at the Adepticon last year because I didn't get a hotel room in the actual building. I got a hotel room in the closest hotel, which was still mm, 0.6 miles away, according to the internet. And so you're kind of walking back and forth, and it's like this big field, and you got to dodge goose poop all over the place and dodge the geese too, because they will definitely come after you. Let's see here. Got a bunch of old White Dwarf issues, super cheap and weird size formats. Real blast from the past. Turns out they gave me a tenth of the price that they were meant to when I came back for more. Wow. Any cat shenanigans today? Oh, there was cat shenanigans this morning. The door's closed in here right now. Because Rex was on one, so I didn't want him to be jumping on the bookshelf back there and all that stuff like he just loves to do. So yeah, but this morning he was absolutely not going to let me sleep until my alarm went off. Pepsi Mask is Mac. I keep saying Mask. Pepsi Max has been around since the 90s, so it's a bit unfair to call it Pepsi's equivalent to Coke Zero. Well, is there some other Pepsi that's basically like Coke Zero? Or maybe not. I could be wrong. I'm generally a fan of Coke Zero. I'm not a Pepsi fan myself, generally. Best way to carry your con booty backpack? The problem with backpacks, and it's more of a Gen Con problem than anything, is that some people will walk around Gen Con with these massive backpacks. And there's companies there at Gen Con that sell these huge, like square backpacks that are designed for you to put board game boxes in. And then they'll walk around with those, and then they'll be like, "Oh, what's that over there?" And they'll turn and like knock somebody over or bump into the, you're walking around with this thing the size of a dorm fridge on your backpack, and you're just banging into people as you're like looking at stuff, and it's a real problem. But it doesn't happen as much at places like Adepticon. Backpack's not a bad idea, or some other sort of like sling bag or something like that. Depends. Are the how-to hobby seminars free to attend, or a mix of pay and free? At Adepticon, I don't know. I think it's maybe a mix, but I think most Adepticon classes, even the seminars, maybe have a cost, but I don't know. I think there's a bare minimum cost. Like, there's certain things you can do for free, maybe. Like, if you're, I don't think you have to pay to do the GW preview thing on Wednesday night or whatever, but I think you are supposed to have a ticket technically. I don't know. Um, let's see here. It does just still boggle mind that GW doesn't do more crossover with their own products. Why is Horus Heresy not involving more aliens? Why is Legion Imperialis not involving more Xenos? The whole 30K thing is about not doing the alien thing as much. It's much more of Horus Heresy is basically a Civil War story. So it's all about, we're not even paying attention to the aliens right now. All of this is like a happening now. The other thing too is that then they don't have to make extra kits. So Horus Heresy, one of the reasons that they look at it favorably, by they I mean GW, is that you don't have to make nearly as many kits because it's basically all Space Marines. You paint them different colors, but they don't have to necessarily make them look different. You can have Space Marines fighting Space Marines, and that's fine because it's the same models fighting the same models. You're just painting them differently as opposed to your, say, opponent or whatever. You're putting maybe different shoulder pads on or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But it's, again, it's more of a Civil War story is what it is. Whereas that's why there's just not Xenos and stuff like in there. A, because of the focus of the story, but B, if they had to make kits for Horus Heresy, but they also had to make Orc kits and they had to make Eldar kits and they had to make all this other stuff, that's just more and more money that they have to spend. Then they're not sure if it's going to sell as well in comparison to like regular 40K or regular, like Horus Heresy stuff, both Imperialis and also regular size, are still a little bit more niche than the other ones. So part of the reason that they do that, in my opinion, is that they're just like, look, we can just keep making the same models over and over again, and then people will buy them, and then we don't have to then carry as much merchandise, don't have to carry as much stock, all that kind of stuff. Do a ton more design, all that jazz. Talking Trench Crusade, I think it's insane how many famous people are in the team. They're like the Avengers of the wargame. I mean, there's some, I suppose, yeah. Considering I'm from Southern California, I'm not sure about getting burritos in Wisconsin. I mean, there's plenty of, I don't know, like the Mexican restaurant that we love to go to here in town is 97% all people, uh, Hispanic folks. So, you know, there's a decent amount of people living up here doing that. But yeah, you know, your mileage may vary. It may not be as good as California, I suppose. Why just, oh, you mean, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha. The models. I see. Gotcha. I'm easy to switch between Coke Zero or Pepsi Max. I know it's some it's sacrilege, but meh, cola is cola in my book. There's just little flavors, you know. Giant backpacks and crowd size keeps me away from Gen Con. Yeah, the big backpacks. That's yeah, that's big board game backpacks remind me of Death Stranding. Oh yeah, with carrying all the packages around. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes, you need a ticket for GW preview. Yeah, yeah. Not sure if I'm going to go to it this year. We'll see. Geese are back in town here too, dropping dog treats in the parks again. Yes, I'm talking about their poo. Yeah. Within the last 5 to 10 years, we've also gotten pelicans. I don't think of Wisconsin and pelicans, but we've gotten pelicans. So that's interesting. They do have a tendency to migrate up here again. We'll be seeing them soon, I think. When I was a kid, we didn't have pelicans. When I was a kid, we didn't have seagulls, and then we got seagulls too. So you know, I think they even said the reason the reason early epic was Space Marine and Heresy is because they only had to make one sprue to start with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they've got to make Tau and Eldar and Dark Eldar and Medium Eldar and all this kind, then that's just way more stuff they've got to design and keep in warehousing and. I just find GW doesn't want to make more kits a tough argument. They do, but they want to make them in stuff that's going to sell. So they're absolutely happy to make more kits for 40K and for Age of Sigmar. But to make a ton of kits for Horus Heresy and for Imperialis or whatever, those are much more niche within their sales. So like if we spent, it's kind of like the reason that Warhammer Fantasy originally went away back in 2015 or whatever when they switched over to Age of Sigmar. It's because they were spending 50% of the time working on stuff for Warhammer Fantasy, but it was only 18% of sales. And they were like, well, this isn't going the right direction. And that's when they, ripped off the Band-Aid and did Age of Sigmar and blah, blah, blah. So you got all that different stuff going on. Horse Heresy is for marine lovers and kits with bits. I am one of them. I even made some Pauldron STLs for the Mark 6 Marines. Most of them are free too. Yeah, that's true too. Like there are some people that are just like, but I just really just want to do Marines. You know what I mean? And I get that. I understand that. Marines are cool. They're fun to paint. Just scarred because my first epic army was squats. Well, I mean, yeah. I've heard people have seen pelicans here on Lake Ontario, but haven't seen them myself. Yeah, like when they're here in town, like I've never seen them up close, but you can see them like they love to like really super high up, huge altitude, and they look tiny, but they're like a white bird with just black tips. And then you see how far up they are, but then still how big they are, and you're like, oh geez, when they come down, they're huge. But yeah, they just circle over like the river and stuff like that, and the lake to some degree, more the river. Let's see here. Do a competing Snarling Badger preview. Well, just cryptic spoilers for the next game in a parking lot. I mean, we could do it in a parking lot. Oh, it's gonna be cold though. Yeah, we just like to release information when we just go. And now the game is out. That's the way we like to do it. I love that the Horse Heresy all came from the fact that they could only make one sprue. Sure. Fort Wapple's either on the first or second level. Couldn't find it on the app. See, I swear somebody mentioned it, but I don't know. Hello from Argentina, currently practicing object source lighting. It's hard. I find that I have the best luck with OSL when I'm using my airbrush. That being said, sometimes I go overboard. So that's sometimes a problem as well. For Warhammer Fantasy, it was a case of the year prior, a box of regular Space Marines outsold the entirety of Fantasy. So for GW at the time, that was the reason for axing it. Yeah, I could see that too. Eyes really bothering me today. It's allergies. New troll for Middle Earth just showed off, right? Yeah, I think I saw that. I think I saw a new troll. I like that Old World and Middle Earth are not high priority for GW. However, I always feared they were the first in the chopping block. I still think that maybe Warcry is. I don't know. We'll see. Last few model railway shows I attended, I was given a shopping bag upon entry. One year they had loads of leftover models from cloth shopping bags. Well, that's cool. Smart move, you know. I mean, Gen Con used to do a thing where somebody would sponsor a bag. So when you would get your ticket, not your ticket, your badge, you get your badge for Gen Con. And then you would go like the next booth down, like out in the hallway there. After you've got your thing, you go over here and they would give you a big bag, like a shopping bag, and it would have a bunch of like stuff in it. It would have not like a swag bag necessarily, but it would have like a coupon book in there and a copy of the program and stuff like that. And then you could have a place to put your stuff as you're buying things and whatever like that. Plus, it was also basically a billboard you were wearing on your, on your person for Cool Mini or not, or some board game company or D&D or whatever, that kind of thing. Sounds like the colored flipped version of turkey vultures. My wife saw a whole bunch of turkey vultures also circling here in town, and I don't know if we ever had, because she was like, "What the heck are those birds?" She was walking home from work, and then she was like looking it up on her phone, and then she's like, "Oh, those are turkey vultures." Yeah, there was like a dozen of them, and they were all just like circling around. So, I don't know. Um, they can only make one robot sprue for Adeptus Titanicus, so they made it in two colors, and the Horus Heresy Civil War was born. There you go. Did anyone get their Warzone Eternal Kickstarter stuff in the mail this week? I was just thinking about that game not too long ago, and I'm like, I wonder if they ever fulfilled their Kickstarter. And it was like a week ago or something. I had that thought, and I went and looked up, and I'm like, oh, it looks like it's shipping now. Well, that's cool. I didn't pull the trigger on it, but I kind of was just sort of thinking about it because I was a bit of a fan of the Warzone models. I was buying a bunch of the Warzone models when I first got into painting again. So allergies are killing me this weekend. The tree pollen is high in New York. Yeah. Any thoughts or rumor mill on Mordheim getting a shout out in a GW hobby vid? I haven't heard about that, no. Met someone that works at a local hobby shop yesterday that also digs Death Wizards, and it turns out they were both that we both have models ready for it. Nice. That's pretty cool. We have an abundance of Muscovy ducks that love to cross the roads by flying across. Most of their flights right as a vehicle comes by. I sometimes think that birds do that on purpose. It's like extreme sports for birds. You know what I mean? Like they drink a little bit of like bird Mountain Dew and then they're like, woohoo. And because I used to drive down a lake road to get to my a job back in the late 90s. I used to drive 55 minutes to get there. And I would take the lake road because it was shorter than going on the highway. And these birds, not ducks necessarily, but other types of birds would just be like, just like try to fly directly in front of your car. Like I'm like, there's all of this area you could fly and not get hit by my car, but they would fly as close as possible, like across the road. And I was just like, I think that they're just like doing extreme sports. They're a bunch of adrenaline junkie birds, is what we got going on over here. Drinking Monster Energy drinks and whatnot. Just finished a Cruel Boys Volca Boss and Scumdrek monsters. Those are the words that they come up with for some of these. It's crazy. First time using contrast paint as the primary method. Turned out well, but not sure who we might go to. I find with speed paints, which are the Army Painter kind of version of contrast paints, but better in my opinion, like I said earlier, I find, and I don't know if you did this, I find that they work really good over a zenithal. So you prime the model black, and then you either spray it white from above or dry brush it white or whatever. Then when you're putting that transparent color over it, you get a single color. You just slop on some red or blue or whatever, and then but then you get like highlights from where the light is, the white paint is hitting the top of the shoulders, but then as it goes down and heading towards like the armpit area and it gets darker down here, because the paint didn't get down there. The black paint did, but not the white paint that you did later with the zenithal. Then you put on one shade of red, but it goes from like light red to dark red because it's transparent. So like that's the way I do the majority of all my painting is some sort of zenithal and then speed paints. I do very little in the way of um, like actual, you know, I do very little in the way of actual like opaque paints. I use opaque paints a lot for obviously for dry brushing. You have to use it for dry brushing. I also use it a lot for edge highlighting. There's some spots where I'm like, well, everything's going to be in this color, but this needs to like faces and stuff like that. Sometimes I've got to throw down like a flesh tone and then throw some washes over it later and then try to highlight a little bit. But for a lot of other stuff, it's mostly speed paints. Going for the first time this year, I signed up for the Fallout Wasteland Warfare tournament, which should be very fun. All the painting classes I want to fill up so fast, though. Yeah. Painting classes do fill up very quickly at Adepticon. My Warzone Eternal is in the mail now. Delayed due to weather. Was supposed to have it for the weekend to work on. Well, no. Just want to say I was looking at Battlefront Valkyrie, came across your video, and wound up picking up a Bamboo A1 printer. Thank you for the review and information, as it was quite helpful. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Absolutely. I live on Lake Ontario. Now I'm going to be looking for pelicans flying around. They could be a problem for the Hercs and Globemasters that fly around here. Sure, yeah. I think that it's cool that Adepticon is free for the vendor hall for access to just buy stuff. Yeah, it's one of the few conventions I go to that does that. But it's smart of them because it keeps the vendors happy. People who are locals and maybe just want to pop by for a day and check it out or whatever can just come through and be like, hey, this is all cool. Then be like, oh, what's going on over here? Oh, I want to buy that. I want to buy that. It makes them happy, but it doesn't overwhelm the people running events, the people running classes and stuff like that, because with those you need a badge and you need to, like do that kind of stuff. So it just makes a lot of sense. I saw a bird just land right in front of the car and just stand there until it got crushed once. That's a bummer. Is anyone else waiting on Archon's Caves? It should be shipping soon, so much well-priced plastic. I don't think I'm familiar with that. How do you say bonsai and duck? It's probably some sort of quack, I'm assuming. I don't care for contrast paints. I guess I'm weird. Everyone seems to like them. I love painting with the speed paints. It's very fast. Again, I'm generally trying to get things done for tabletop. Video that you're going to see this upcoming Friday while I'm gone at Adepticon is going to be about the new it's about the new what is it, the new Kill Team box, this one, whatever it's called, Blood and Zeal. Although they keep saying Faith and Fury, but it's Blood and Zeal. So I painted up, can we see these bigger? Not really. Of course it's sold out online. What a surprise. I painted 5 of these guys, the churchy looking dudes. There's one with a big book on his back. This one that's got this big, huge, hang on. Nope. These guys. So I painted like this guy up here. I painted this guy. I painted this guy, but gave him a different head. I painted like this guy. I painted 5 of them. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the other ones yet, but I'm going to head in that direction eventually. But yeah, they're just cool models. They've got some nice options for heads, which is great. They haven't done that too much lately. The video, like basically the point of the video is going to be that it's been a long time since GW's made a Kill Team box where I liked everything in the box. These crazy corn humans with robot legs, I didn't get a chance to build any of these guys yet. I like these guys a lot, but they're not as easy to customize. And then this is a cool terrain piece, but I already had one of these from, there was a terrain piece that was designed for Sisters of Battle that I bought years ago because I really, really wanted this this model, and now it's available also in this thing too. So I'll probably show off my painted one already, and then I might take the new one that I have and build it up and maybe make it like a desecrated one or a chaos one or something cool like that. I don't know, but not in time for Friday's video. But I will have the 5 guys that I painted out of here. Those are all done. So, well, I need to matte varnish them, but beyond that, they're done. So you folks being here at the at the live show, you guys get to learn what the next week's video is. Ran over a peacock once. That's not cool. You don't want to do that. That must have been terrible. Um, Thanks for the tip. I used gray sear, but I will try a zenithal next time. Like the contrast over the. See, that's the thing is that when you have that fade built, think about it this way: you're taking a black and white photo by making a zenithal, right? So you've taken rather than just taking a model and priming it black and then having to up all the colors, opaque paints, blah blah blah, all that jazz. What you're doing is you're taking what looks like a black and white photo if you just do straight white over black, and then you are putting transparent colors over the top of it to color in the spots. It's like you're colorizing an old black and white movie or something like that. But it does make things quicker and simpler, and it still looks pretty good in most situations. The difference is if you are like, well, I would rather do something a little bit different and tweak things differently that way, as far as the colors. If you want to do a lot of blending, and there are times when you're like still got to go in and do some opaque stuff. Like I said, sometimes faces and things like that. Depends on the models. Um, just got a cool plate super track for my A1 Mini, best build plate I've used in 3D printing. Sticks great and the surface is smooth. Cool. Just getting in the kill team, and I don't know why I want that Blood and Zeal box. I think it's because it feels like the Spanish Inquisition meets Midsummer. Maybe a little bit. Oh, Archon equals Dungeons and Lasers. Gotcha. I didn't know they did caves, but that makes sense. It sounds like something they would do. I've got some of their really cool urban terrain stuff, and I love it. Those fanatic-looking minis look like they would be awesome done in the Blanchitsu style. I painted mine all in warm colors. I definitely was like, hey, I think I'm going to stay firmly in my comfort zone. And that's what I did. I want the statue, but I don't quite like the teams. I don't know if they're going to sell the statues separately at any point. Maybe, but probably not. Safe travels to Gary Con. See you at the show. I will. Yeah, I'm going to be leaving here and very soon. Um, and heading straight there. Well, I'll probably go to the bathroom first, and then I'll go. Maybe I'll grab some Cliff Bars so I've got something to eat in the car on the way there. But yeah, like I said, with those more corn guys with the robo legs, the downside is their heads are not nearly as swappable as the heads on the other guys. The churchy looking dudes, all of their bodies come together and they just have like a hole where their head would go in, and then there's like a whole just bunch of heads on the sprues, and they have that kind of rounded bottom to them, so you can put them in and kind of position them however you want and glue them and all that kind of stuff. And that's very cool. But the corn guys don't really do that. So after a month of using them, I much prefer the AP speed paint to the GW contrast. Obviously, the dropper bottles are superior, obviously, but the longer working time results in a fair, smoother finish, as you said. Yeah, that's what the way I look at it as well. It definitely, the working time on it is nicer, and they don't get those lines like they sometimes do otherwise. So that's for sure something. I'm looking at these pictures now of these models, and I'm like, I should probably do a little bit more work on this guy's gun. Or not gun. I don't know what the heck that thing. It's kind of like an eviscerator, but I think there's maybe a flamethrower on it. I should maybe get in there and do a little bit more work on that. But again, they're tabletop guys. I don't want to go crazy with them. So, but we shall see. No fast food for the road trip. Yeah, I just don't. I'm not as much into fast food these days as I used to be. I mean, some things I am, but I don't want to eat them in the car while I'm driving. That's for damn sure. I'm still painting up Hivestorm. Those Aquilons have so much more detail than yeah, all the Scion Tempestus guys, there's a lot going on those guys. That is a bummer. The bug dudes are cool though. I do want to mess with some of the bug dudes. In the process of transitioning my paints from Citadel to Armory Painter with both speed paint and Fanatic paints. Nice. Overall, Army Painter speed paint wins for me, but there's always a couple of the contrast paints I love, like the Blood Terror's red. It's just a gorgeous deep burgundy. I don't like burgundy as a color. I never have. I don't know why. Well, I partially know why. We had a burgundy car when I was a kid growing up that was just an absolute lemon. It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass, like an 81 or an 82 Cutlass, and it was just constantly in the shop. And I honestly do believe that made it that I just didn't like burgundy anymore, which is dumb, but Send my greetings to Kat and Caleb. Absolutely. Just my usual reminder to not stick with one brand. Every brand has something to offer. Sure. Yeah, actually, I got a text from Adam earlier this morning, and he was like, because he got to, like, they've been at GaryCon since I think Wednesday or Thursday. But he didn't get there till yesterday because he's going to basically be gone. He's going to be gone. He's got a wife and two kids, but he's going to be gone from yesterday until, I don't know. I think not this coming Monday, but the Monday after Adepticon at least. So he's going to be gone a long time because of these two conventions. So that's why he didn't go for the entirety of GaryCon, but he was there yesterday and then he's there today. But he texted me this morning and he was like, "Yeah, this is very chill. It's a very chill, cool con, and he likes it." So I'm hoping that we get to. I'm hoping A, that they don't have it the same weekend as Adepticon going forward. That would be great. And B, I'm hoping that they definitely, that Army Painter goes back again, and maybe next year I'll be able to go longer. But we will see. Using color shifting paint for the Hivestorm insects. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I do like the orange and black. It definitely reminds me of those murder hornets. Is that what they're called? Yeah, murder hornets. I wanted to say murder weasels at first, and I don't know why, but that sounds like fun. Darcy Bono has a terrific Aquilon painting guide on her YouTube channel. It works great and really sped up the process for me. Nice. It's not a color I'd wear or anything, but I do find burgundy makes oranges and yellows pop. Yeah, I could see certainly with yellows. Yeah. Burgundy and orange. I don't know if I want to do that personally, but Archon Studios has released a lot of terrain kits lately, especially with more of boxes of figure collections. I appreciate their Starfinder range for Space Station Zero. I don't think I've seen their Starfinder range. I should take a look at it. But yeah, like I said, the urban stuff from them is amazing, and I'm a big fan. So I've got 9 pieces that I've put together. They're all super modular. You can put them together however you want. I've got 9 pieces that are all built, based, textured, primed, base coated, mostly. I need to finish them up because they're just great looking stuff. It was funny seeing you give Sam and Glacial Geek side eye in the video they posted the other day of aggressive rim painting at the Army Painter booth at LVO. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. Like, they were doing this thing and he was like, "Urgh," and all of a sudden I was just sitting back, and then Sam turns the camera back at me and I'm like, what? No. And yeah, it was a funny video. They do good work. First time caller, long time listener. I can hear foreplay/long time from Boston based band Boston. What? This isn't the radio. I don't know what this is. Actually, I'm about to go. So, because I got to drive to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and that'll be fun. So yeah, I will see you folks again soon. I hope that your rest of your day goes cool. I hope that you maybe get some hobby done if you want to, or just rest, or do what you need to do. So everybody who's going to be at Adepticon, safe travels, and I'll hopefully see you there very soon. And that's pretty much about it. So I hope everyone has, like I said, a good day. Do some hobby if you can. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.